safety and wearing protective gear and protecting themselves effectively from COVID. We do have a Thanksgiving holiday pending when everybody will travel, which is our main topic for today. But before I go into my main topic, I do want to address a couple of questions from the last topic. And then even previous to that, we had received a few emails and some dreams that you had asked to interpret. So what I'm going to do is, if I have time as the show goes on, I definitely want to address your emails, interpret your dreams, answer your questions from that we've received over the last few weeks. Last time we had a short time, so we weren't really able to answer too many questions. But last time when we did the show, besides the regular topic, we had also talked about the anniversary of Baba Muhyiddin, who is a gentleman that came from Sri Lanka to the US, converted several white people to Islam, several Caucasian people, Jewish, Christians, different religions, embraced Islam under him and did bay'ah with him. And then we also talked about Ghaus-e Azam Rahmatullah alayhi, Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani, who was actually the founder of Sufism. So many people are asking me about Sufis. What exactly is the definition of a Sufi? So I want to indulge, what I want to do is, instead of giving my own definition, I want to take Baba Muhyiddin, who is the gentleman under which several people embraced Islam. He was very impressive to several white people. It's actually hundreds of thousands of people, and there are several centers all through the US and Canada for the Baba Muhyiddin Fellowship. And the reason people were impressed with Baba and embraced Islam under him was because Baba just served everybody hand and foot. He did not take the slogan of Islam or say Islam, Islam, and didn't ask people to convert. He just served everybody hand and foot. He was a humanitarian, always giving service. Now, the interesting thing to note is that Baba did not speak any English, but all the white Muslims who embraced Islam under him, they have translated several books for their sheikh or Sufi sheikh, Sheikh Rahim Baba Muhyiddin, as they lovingly call him Baba. And these discourses I will encourage you to read. So Baba has himself explained the Sufi in one of his discourses, and I'm just going to read excerpts from there. I'm not going to be able to read the whole thing. The other thing that I want to say, even before I start reading on what Baba has said, what a Sufi is, I also want to say that today is Baba's Urs. It is his death anniversary. And in 3 days' time, we also have the Yarmi Sharif, which is the anniversary, or Urs as we call it in Urdu, for Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani. So Baba was a staunch disciple of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani, Ghaus-e Azam Rahmatullah alayhi. He was a supporter of and a follower of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani, followed his teachings and taught people those teachings. And of course, he followed the kalama completely, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. And he taught them, all these white Muslims that have embraced Islam and that live all over the US, with several centers in and around the suburbs of Philadelphia and Philadelphia area, where people actually come from all parts of America, Canada, and the United States to pay their respects and to do their special salam or prayer. And today, actually, instead of a real Urs, for the safety of everybody, there was a virtual Urs being held from the Fellowship Mosque in Philadelphia, which is called the Baba Muhyiddin Fellowship. So if you get a chance, log in and you'll probably be able to read the rebroadcast. Now, another question that I want to answer before I go into the explanation of a Sufi is, many people wrote to me and said, is it correct in Islam to take a teacher, to take a peer, to take a sheikh? So what I'm going to say is that the most important verse of the Quran and the gist of the Quran is Surah Fatiha, Al-Fatiha, which is the first surah, the first chapter of the Quran. And in that, when God says, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, God is teaching us how to pray and what to say in our lives and what to believe in. And he says, say that I seek God's help and I ask God for help and I pray to God. After that, it says, Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim, God lead me to the straight path. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. So God does not just ask us to pray and say, lead us to the right path. God tells us to pray, take us to the path of those who were on the right path, who were not led astray, who did not do bad things, who followed the straight and narrow, and who followed the path of God and the messengers. So yes, the teacher is important in Islam. The first chapter, Surah Fatiha, lays down the importance of a teacher. If we can find a living teacher that we can learn from, that is the best. Some people also believe in a spiritual teaching, just like we learn from Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam spiritually. But if you can find a good, decent, pious man of God, full of wisdom, full of love for others, having nothing in his or her heart except for La ilaha illallah, then yes, it is correct to take on that person as a teacher. So let me read from Baba's discourses and explain what a Sufi is. And Baba says, a Sufi is a clear, pure essence that has filtered and settled slowly deep within. And it says that it is the state of stillness when the resplendence of the pure clarity of wisdom has sunk down and settled completely within its ultimate completeness and perfection. Sufi reveals the nature of the final state of the receding of that perfection when it has settled down slowly to its ultimate stillness. It is not something that belongs to any one religion. It is the essence that has been filtered from all four religions by wisdom. And it is the belief through which a person understands clearly everyone's characteristics, intelligence, actions, behavior, and comprehends them through the wisdom. And this kind of knowledge is the wisdom of God. And this is the kind of knowledge that God is asking us to have, and to basically, that is what the Sufi understands, the power to control and rule all human lives, to understand the secrets of God, to understand the universe, to understand the good and evil, and to understand wisdom. And when the Sufi imparts knowledge, the Sufi imparts knowledge with everybody's level of their mind, level of their intelligence, because a Sufi will have the wisdom to impart knowledge in the right way. The Sufi will have the knowledge to impart wisdom in the right way. I believe we have a call, so I'm going to have to get interrupted. Assalamu alaikum, you are on the air.
Wa alaikum assalam, sister. How are you?
I'm good, brother. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Muhammad. I don't know if you remember. I'm the one from Sun Fusion Power Solar.
Oh, yes. Assalamu alaikum, brother Muhammad. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. So remember, we are doing the solar in your home, and it's not costing you anything, obviously, and it's reducing your bill also, mashallah.
Yes. And I thank you for reminding me, and I thank you for the call. And I will mention you in a minute after I hear what you have to say. Is there any comment for today's show?
Yeah, I want to tell you this. I'm a student of comparative religion myself.
MashaAllah.
So I do, mashallah, read Quran with tafsir, and I do different things. And you're doing a great job, to be honest with you. What I want to ask you today is in reference to the Thanksgiving. And, you know, I've been here in New York for 30 years, and I've got children, and they're asking me, is it, celebrating Thanksgiving is haram or halal, or is it the right thing to do? I need to know your opinion. Obviously, listeners and viewers will be also listening. What would you have to say? What do we do at Thanksgiving?
Okay, you know what? That's an excellent question, and in another minute, I'm going to come to the answer that you have. To just tell the viewers about Brother Muhammad, and he is actually calling from this company, Solar Fusion, and I do remember that they had introduced me to the Solar Fusion Power. And what I want to say, faith activities, and they're working on natural sources of energy. We all know that our regular electric and heat bills are high, so the one good thing that they do and they have introduced in our lives is the power of nature and the solar power, and it's very interesting. Correctly, God mentions the Quran at least 32 times. So when Quran is mentioned, then we need to, when the Quran mentions the sun, then we do understand that the sun is a very powerful creation of God. And actually there's a whole surah and a chapter on the sun, and it is Surah Shams, which says Washamsi Waduhaha. And actually God is swearing by the sun and its splendor. And in that same chapter, God is swearing upon many sacred things like the moon and the earth. And then there's another surah, I think, that starts with Shams, Iza Shamsu Kuwirat, Surah Takwir, which is another chapter. I believe it might be the 81st chapter of the Quran. So I just want to say that God has himself taken an oath on the sun. The sun is a very powerful creation, and according to the Quran, the sun carries a lot of splendor, and the sun gives us the light that then the moon reflects, and the earth is lit, and the separation of day and night is divided according to the Quran and also according to the science with the sun power. So I will wholeheartedly support the brothers' mission. I will encourage everybody. I don't know if they put a flyer on or not, but their ad does play during the different breaks. Call them up. And I will say another thing, that it will cut your energy bill by a third or half, and nothing extra has to be paid. They cover the cost of the installation, so you will not have to pay anything. So the only thing you have to lose is a big bill, and you will get a better and a more economical bill going forward. So Brother Muhammad, thank you for calling in, and I'm happy to know that you are involved in a comparative religion. I do support that, and I hope that you will, if you are involved in interfaith activities, our show is about interfaith, that you will call and talk to us more in future about your interfaith activities, because I want to encourage all the Muslim brothers and sisters out there who are trying to bring a good name to Islam, trying to follow Islam in their lives, in their business, in their dealings with non-Muslims, and letting everyone know that we are good, honest, and forthright and upright people, and we are not anybody different than anybody else that is good and a person of service. So going back to the discussion on Sufi Islam, what I want to say is that when I just was reading Baba's discourses, Baba says that one who understands, knows, and realizes all things, knows himself fully, knows God, understands hell, heaven, lives, and creation, Satan and the children of Satan, who understands and realizes all these with full clarity, that person who understands all of that is the person that's a Sufi. And that person, when he reaches that state, he has nothing in his heart except for La ilaha illallah. He has nothing else left in his heart. So in the heart of the Sufi, only one thing remains: La ilaha illallah, nothing but Allah. It is getting time for a short break. When I come back, I want to address the brother Muhammad's question about Thanksgiving, its significance in Islam, and then other matters related to Thanksgiving, inshallah. Viewers, do not change the channel. We'll be right back in just a minute. Stay tuned, please. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome back, viewers, after the break. Amna Salahuddin is back with Understanding Faith, and somebody called us right before the break. The brother from Solar Fusion Power called us with some comments and also a question about Thanksgiving, which is bringing me right to today's topic. Actually, this question has been asked to me by many people, and it is in the mind of many Muslims about the significance of the holidays that we celebrate in the US. Thanksgiving being one of them. Sometimes people have questions on Halloween, whether it's right or wrong, whether celebrating Thanksgiving. The brother who called mentioned his children. They want to know if celebrating some of these holidays that we celebrate in the USA, are they allowed to celebrate in Islam or are they not allowed? So whenever we are celebrating any holiday, please, first of all, I want to say that anything that we do 24/7 has to come under the circle of Islam. So we cannot say that we will be Muslim when we're doing 5-time prayer or on Friday or at a certain time or in a Muslim gathering. Every action of ours comes within right or wrong or godly or ungodly. So we are either following God and the Prophet or we are not. Either we are being good or we are not being good. A lot of these, whether we are being good or not, a lot of these actions depend on our intent. Actually, that is what, when I was earlier talking about Sufism focuses on Sharia, which is the outward manifestation of your deen, and then the Hakika or the Hakikat, which is the inner intent and purity. And then when you follow the Sharia and work on the inner intent and Hakikat, then that leads you to Marifa or enlightenment. So being a Sufi or following the path of Sufism means that one has mastered or completed the Sharia, follows the Sharia in all the outward norms and all the outward tenets of the deen, and then does that with a very pure intent. As I was reading Baba's discourse, the Sufi has nothing left in his or her heart except for La ilaha illallah. Greed, desires, baya, karma, all of that goes from the Sufi's heart. The Sufi only has love left for Allah, and we are all sinners, we're all normal human beings, but we should try and follow the teachings of these Sufi scholars and follow them and try to emulate them and try to follow the Prophet ﷺ, who in my eyes was the biggest Sufi of all because he meditated in the caves of Hira. He did all good things and he did them with the purest of intent. None of the Prophet's actions was led by selfishness or selfish desires. So having said that and coming to Thanksgiving and relating that to Islam, what I'm going to say is whenever we are following any holiday, any celebration, any act, we have to question our intent and our heart and see why we are doing it. That's the first and foremost thing with celebrating Thanksgiving or really any holiday that was originally or traditionally not encouraged by Islam or is not an Islamic holiday. Are we cooking on Thanksgiving? Cooking is a good thing. If we're cooking for our family, if we're cooking for our friends, if we are cooking for the poor people, if we are cooking with thanks, thinking that God has given us some food, let's share that food out. Let's give thanks to Allah for all the bounties Allah has given us. And let's share that food with others. Let's bow our head all together in thanks. Then it is indeed a good thing. Now, if we're doing Thanksgiving just because, say, we have some friends and we want to impress them, or we just want to be extravagant and be a show off to say, oh, you know what? I have so much food. I have so much abundance. I have such a beautiful and decorated house. Let everybody come see my house, see my dining table. Then that same Thanksgiving becomes wrong and forbidden. So the first thing I'm going to say is, whenever you want to celebrate Thanksgiving or any other holiday, check your heart and check your intent. Is your heart in the right place? Is your heart filled with thanks for God? If your heart is filled with thanks for God, and you are doing some cooking for yourself and your family and your friends or the poor or other people, and sharing in the bounty Allah has given you, then I don't see anything wrong in celebrating the holiday. It becomes a good thing, because when you do it with a pure intent, it becomes good and it becomes very godly. And actually, I'm reminded. Let me find that verse. I'm reminded of a verse in Surah Baqarah, if I remember correctly. It's verse 172. Let me check. It's verse 172. Yes, it is. And let me read the Arabic. It's a very short and sweet verse. It says, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu kulu min tayyibati ma razaqnakum washkuru lillah in kuntum iyyahu ta'budun. O you who believe, eat of the good things that we have provided for you and be grateful to Allah if it is Him you worship. So Allah is actually telling us right then and there what to do. He's saying you eat of the good things, you give thanks to Allah if that is who you worship. So Allah is saying, eat good things that we have provided you and be thankful if it is God you worship. So if we are not worshiping God, if we have any worldly motivation or worldly desire in our heart when we host a Thanksgiving dinner or go to a Thanksgiving dinner, if we do not have God in our heart, if we do not have thankfulness and gratitude in our heart for Allah, then that same act that we're doing becomes a wrongful act and a sinful act. If our heart is filled with gratitude and we are celebrating a holiday that others are celebrating, because this holiday, we know that we are living in America and everybody is off on that holiday. Most people are off. So this is a good time to schedule time with the family and friends. It's a good time to bow your head down in reflection and prayer. It's a good time to bow your head down in thanks. And I would say that that is all right to do as long as the heart is in the right place. But if the heart has no thanks for God, if the heart has no compassion for other human beings, if the heart is boastful, if the heart is arrogant. Earlier when I was reading Sufi Sheikh's discourse, it said that if somebody is striving to attain God and being called a Sufi or going towards Sufism, nothing can remain in their heart except for Allah. And the first thing that happens when Allah enters our heart is our heads are bowed down. We become very humble. We become creatures that know that we are nothing and nobody, and that we have no power, and the power only comes from God. So if we are celebrating Thanksgiving to impress someone, to eat a lot, to be wasteful, to be arrogant, to be boastful, then that food and that whole celebration becomes a bad or a sinful act for us. So the first thing is that we have to correct our heart and our intent, and we have to make sure that our intent was pure. Is our heart filled with the love for God? Do we realize that our sustainer, creator, and giver is God? Do we realize that the food we have on our table is coming from Allah's bounty and Allah's blessing? Earlier, when we were talking about the sun and the Shura Shams and the creation of the sun and the splendor, the sun God made for everybody. The light of the sun benefits everybody, not rich people or powerful people or governmental people. It affects all of us and it helps all of us. The poor person, the rich person, the black, the white, the American, the Pakistani, the Indian, the Muslim, the non-Muslim, the sun shines equally on everybody. Just like that, Allah has created the moon, the earth, and all the fruits and the veggies and the trees and the grain for everybody. The rain comes down for everybody. You've never heard of the rain just showering on the rich person's garden and not in the poor person's roof. The rain comes for everyone. The sun comes for everyone. The earth is for everyone. The grain, the fruit, all the good things, the trees, the vegetables, everything God is giving everybody. So there is a lesson in that for us, that God serves everybody alike. He serves all of us alike. So what is our duty then? How are we giving thanks? We are giving thanks by acknowledging that everything is coming from Allah. It is all the bounty of Allah, and that is what we are getting. It is not something that we are getting other than Allah. It is the source is Allah for all the food, all the blessings, all the bounties that we have. And then when that realization hits, what do we do, or what do we have to do? Just like Allah gives everybody his bounty and shares his bounty with everybody, he calls on us to do the same. Several verses of the Quran talk about charity, almsgiving, zakah, sadaqah, to share, to remember other people's portion in it. So when we talk about Thanksgiving, if we have our hearts filled with gratitude, and if we are bowing our head and recognizing that the food and all the good things that we have are from Allah, and also if we are understanding and having compassion, like Baba's earlier discourse said, that that heart filled with the love of Allah is always filled with compassion for Allah's servants and Allah's creations, everybody, everything alike. That heart doesn't have any arrogance. That heart does not have discrimination. That heart is not going to just serve rich people or people in power. That heart is going to bleed or beat the same way for rich, poor, black, white, Muslim, non-Muslim alike. That is the state of humanity that we have to, that is the state of humanity that we have to achieve when we are seeking God. And then when we do that, then that is fine to celebrate Thanksgiving or to celebrate this holiday of Thanksgiving. Now, I also want to come to the outwardly what we do in Thanksgiving. We know, let me just go actually back to the history of Thanksgiving for just a minute. We know that the pilgrims who came from England, there was this group that was separating from the Church of England. They were different. They felt that the Church of England had gotten corrupted. They called themselves the Pilgrims or the Separatists. And they got on this ship, the Mayflower, and they came to the New World, which was America in those days, in search of religious freedom. And then they landed near Plymouth or at Plymouth in Massachusetts, and that is where the first Thanksgiving feast was celebrated. When the first Thanksgiving feast was celebrated, let me check on who the governor was. It was Governor William Bradford who called for the Thanksgiving feast, because they had defeated the cold and terrible winter when a lot of them had passed away. They finally got good harvest. The native Indians had showed them as a good host. They had showed them how to fish, how to hunt, and how to keep the veggies growing, and how to crop their harvest and how to harvest their crops. The Native Americans had taught them a whole bunch of things. There were one or two Native Americans who were actually spoke English. Squanto was one of the main ones who taught the Pilgrims a bunch of things because he spoke English. He was originally a slave of the British, but then he freed himself to come and serve his own native land. So the Pilgrims had their heart full of gratitude to God, and they threw this big feast for 3 days, and they joined the Native Indians or Native Americans who were actually, who had helped them reach that level and to help them to grow their harvest and to help them to prosper and to have enough harvest to beat the cold winter ahead. This was the second year of, not the first, but the second year, or after the winter had passed, the second season in the New World, which was America. So they offered thanks. They bowed their head down to God to offer thanks, and they bowed their head down to the native people in thanks and invited them to join their feast, because they wanted to share their good luck and good fortune and good harvest with their friends. So it was a good act. It was done with noble intentions. Everybody was there helping each other. So if that is what the Thanksgiving holiday took after, and after that, Abraham Lincoln, I believe, in 1863, I believe, during the Civil War, he he made this whole Thanksgiving holiday like a national holiday and like an official holiday. I forget the name of the lady, but there was a lady behind it who was also pushing for Thanksgiving to be a holiday. So I want to get some more into the outward aspects of Thanksgiving and them relating to Islam, but I am being cued into the break at this point, viewers. Please don't change the channels and keep calling in with your questions or comments. Inshallah, we'll be right back after the break. Welcome back, viewers, after the break. I hope you've been tuning in and haven't changed the channels, and I hope you'll come right back to talk about a discourse on Thanksgiving as it relates to Islam. So we first talked about the thankfulness and gratitude in our heart and why we will observe any holiday if we have thanks in our heart and gratitude for Allah, if we want to share his bounty, if we realize that all that we have is through him, and we just want to share with everyone without any arrogance or boastfulness in our heart, then we have the correct motive. As for the outward actions of Thanksgiving, as I said, this was done by the pilgrims, and it was done to thank God and also to thank the native Indian friends who had helped them. So whenever we are observing anything within the boundaries of Islam, as long as we are not doing anything wrong in that gathering, as long as we're not partaking of pork or alcohol or non-zabiha things, as long as we're eating permissible and halal food. A lot of people, I know Muslims, will order halal turkey. I think many, even American grocery stores like ShopRite, etc., they also serve or sell halal turkeys or kosher turkeys for Muslims. So as long as we are eating halal food, we are not transgressing from any boundary of our religion. As long as our intent is correct, then that is okay to celebrate a holiday. Now, another person had asked me, or I do get this question asked from time to time, is it okay in Islam to fix a day and to celebrate that day, because Islam doesn't fix any other day through the Quran except for Eid? So what I'm going to say is that we have to look at things with wisdom and with logically. The other thing is God has fixed days besides Eid for several things. For Hajj, he has told us what we can and can't do during the Hajj period. He has told us about other periods, the haram months, the four forbidden months, in which certain things can be done, cannot be done. God has talked about many months and many different periods in the Quran. So if something is done for the convenience of human beings or to make it easy, then that will follow within godliness or within Islam. Because the one thing with the Thanksgiving holiday is that everybody knows their schedule. To know your schedule, to plan a holiday ahead, to do something planned like that is all right, dear viewers. There is nothing un-Islamic about it. As I said, the intent is the most important, and then what is important is that you are not discriminating in your gathering. So if you want to have a gathering with just, thinking that, oh, I'll only invite the rich people or the affluential people, then I will change that. If I were you, I would want to change that. I would open my door or my heart to as many people or different types of people if I can. If you're just inviting relatives, make sure you invite rich and poor relatives, and make sure there is no discrimination in your heart. What they have is from Allah. What we have is from Allah. What you have is from Allah. Nobody can give less or more to anyone except for Allah. So if we have something more than the other person, it doesn't make us better. It doesn't mean that we're better than anybody. It doesn't mean we should become arrogant. It doesn't give us the reason to discriminate. So as long as we have that thankfulness and gratitude in our heart, as long as we are observing halal and zabiha when we are doing these gatherings and not eating or drinking anything that is haram or not halal, then it is okay to celebrate the gathering. So the brother who called, and I know several parents are asked that question. A lot of children ask this question in America. Is it okay, mom and dad, to celebrate Halloween? Is it okay to celebrate Thanksgiving? Is it okay to celebrate Christmas? So the very first thing we have to teach our children is that first we have to look and see why we are doing something. This is also a good time to tell them to correct their intention. So if a child or a young person wants to just have a Thanksgiving dinner because everybody is doing it, then this is the perfect time to teach your child And this is the perfect time to teach our children that, look, why don't, if you want to observe Thanksgiving, then why don't you do it the Muslim way? Why don't you bring true gratitude and thanks for God in your heart? Why don't you understand and realize that Allah is the one who has given us the food that we have and the bounty and sustenance that we have? Allah has given it to us, and nobody else can give it to us. And yes, when Allah gives it, I bow my head in prayer, I bow my head in thanks, and I want to join others with it. So this is a perfect time when the children are asking, or the youth are asking this question, to help them purify their intent, to help them realize that it is their intent which will make it pure or not. And then after they fix their intent, they have to make sure that there is nothing haram on that table, nothing forbidden in Islam to eat or drink on that Thanksgiving table. If everything is halal, if the intent is pure, actually I'm reminded, and I want to say that there are several verses of the Quran that talk about eating, because you know food and sustenance is the prime need of human beings. That is also the thing that gives us joy the most, because we indulge in food both to live and for our enjoyment at least 3 times a day, 2 to 3 times. And this is something that is the basics, that is a basic human instinct that we all need and require. So the Quran in several places says that God has given you this bounty of food. So eat and be thankful. If you worship God, if you serve God, if you believe in God, then understand and realize that yes, God is not asking you to starve. God is telling you you can use God's bounties. And even I'm reminded of Surah Rahman, which repeats one verse over and over. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ और तुम अपने रब की किन-किन नेमतों को झुटलाओगे? Which of the favors of your Lord will you deny? So God keeps asking us to give thanks. And I'm also reminded of Surah Nahl. Surah Nahl is the 16th chapter. There's another very short and sweet verse in here that I want to read as relates to thanking God and feeling gratitude. فَكُلُوا مِمَّا رَزَقَكُمُ اللَّهُ حَلَالًا طَيِّبًا وَاشْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ إِن كُنتُمْ إِيَّاهُ تَعْبُدُونَ. So eat of the sustenance which Allah has provided for you, lawful and good. And be grateful for the favors of Allah, for it is He whom you serve. In Urdu, I will translate, Allah Ta'ala ने कहा है कि खाओ उस नेमत में से जो अल्लाह ने तुम्हें दी है, जो तुम्हारे लिए हलाल है और तुम्हारे लिए अच्छी और फायदामंद है, और अल्लाह के शुक्रगुजार और एहसानमंद बनो अल्लाह के की उन नेमतों के लिए जो उसने तुम्हें दी हैं, अगर तुम उसके सच्चे माबूद हो और उसकी इबादत करने वाले हो. तो अल्लाह ताला, God is saying very clearly to eat of God's bounty and to partake in God's sustenance and to partake of the bounties and the food that God has given, but to do it with a thankful heart, to realize that this is from God and Allah, this is from Allah, and to bow our head down in thanks and prayer, and also eat the good things, not the forbidden things, because we know that whatever is forbidden to the Muslims, the devil has accursed that thing. जिस चीज को अल्लाह ताला ने हराम किया है उस पे शयातीन छोड़ दिए जाते हैं. शराब हो गई, सूअर का गोश्त हो गया, खून हो गया, मुर्दार जानवर हो गया, इन तमाम चीजों को जब हराम करार दिया गया तो इन पर शयातीन, इन चीजों के अंदर शयातीन दाखिल हो गए. ये चीजें मुसलमानों के लिए हराम है. जब आप थैंक्सगिविंग की हॉलिडे रखते हैं तो मेक श्योर कि आप हलाल खाना खाएं, हलाल खाना सर्व करें, आपके बर्तन हलाल हों और उसमें किसी हराम की आमेजिश ना हो. जब मैं हराम की बात करती हूँ तो मैं हराम आमदनी की भी बात करूंगी कि हमें अपनी आमदनी का भी जरिया मेक श्योर करना है कि जिस खाने को हम पका रहे हैं, जिस खाने को हम सर्व कर रहे हैं, और खुसूसन जो ऑडियंस पाकिस्तान में ये शो देख रहे हैं, क्योंकि अक्सर मुझे पाकिस्तान से भी यूट्यूब के जरिए या फेसबुक के जरिए कोई मैसेज करता है, तो जब आप अपनी आमदनी को टटोल लीजिए, मेक श्योर कीजिए कि आमदनी भी हलाल है, मेक श्योर कीजिए कि आपका खाना आपकी मेज पे हलाल है. ये मेक श्योर कीजिए कि इसमें किसी का खून पसीना शामिल नहीं है, किसी का इस्तेसाल शामिल नहीं है, किसी का एक्सप्लॉयटेशन शामिल नहीं है। और फिर एंड में हमें अपने दिल में ये बात जाननी है कि ये सारी नेमतें अल्लाह ताला की तरफ से हैं। हमारे दिल को सर बसजूद होना है, हमारा दिल अल्लाह ताला की बारगाह में हमारे दिल को शुक्रगुजार होना है कि जो हमें नेमतें अता हुई हैं अल्लाह ताला ने दी हैं। और फिर हमारी ये नीयत हो कि हम इसको दूसरों के साथ शेयर करें, खानदान के साथ, दोस्तों अहबाब के साथ और उन गरीबों के साथ जो जिनको ये नेमतें मैसर नहीं हैं। अगर हमें ये नेमतें मैसर हैं तो ये अल्लाह ताला ने हमें दी हैं, इसमें हमारा कोई कमाल नहीं है, कोई बड़ाई नहीं है। ये एहसास जब हमारे दिल में होगा तो फिर हम थैंक्स गिविंग भी मना सकते हैं, थैंक्स गिविंग की तकरीबात में जा सकते हैं, थैंक्स गिविंग कर सकते हैं। मगर इसकी शर्त यह है कि पहले हमें अपनी नीयत और अपने आप को और अपने अमल को दुरुस्त करना पड़ेगा। So viewers, I had just summed everything up in Urdu, that yes, it is okay if you want to observe Thanksgiving or celebrate a holiday, spend time with family, friends, cook, eat, serve, but your heart has to be filled with God's gratitude and bounty and gratitude for God's bounty. Your heart also has to be compassionately filled with love for others, and make sure on the outward angle of this that there is nothing haram or unlawful on your table. And I will also add at that time that when you do, make sure nothing is unlawful, make sure the money did not come by exploiting anybody, by taking advantage of anybody, and by taking bribes or doing any other unlawful source of earning. So when we follow all the guidelines of Islam, then we can observe a holiday within the US, even if it was not a traditional Islamic holiday. Because Islam tells us our wisdom, Islam tells us to always exercise and use our wisdom to interpret the Quran as a whole. And when we do that, we realize that everything good is within the boundaries of Islam, and everything bad is ungodly or un-Islamic. Islam is not a little teeny tiny circle or a little dot on the universe. Islam is everything good. ये बात अपने जहन नशीन कर लीजिए कि हर अच्छी चीज इस्लाम के दायरे में आती है। मुसलमान अब इस्लाम को दुनिया से सेपरेट नहीं कर सकता। उसको हर लम्हे 24 घंटे ये सोचना है कि मेरी ये सोच, जो भी मेरी सोच है, जो भी मेरा अमल है, क्या वो इस्लाम और अल्लाह की तालीमात के मुताबिक है? क्या वो हुजूर सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की तालीमात के मुताबिक है? क्या वो हमारे बुजुर्गान दीन, सहाबा कराम, औलिया कराम की तालीमात के मुताबिक है? आज हमने दो बहुत जलील कदर औलिया का नाम लिया, शेख अब्दुल कादिर जिलानी और गौसे आजम रहमतुल्लाह अलैह और बाबा मुईउद्दीन। हमने इन दोनों का नाम लिया। बाबा मुईउद्दीन का आज उर्स भी है, शेख अब्दुल कादिर जिलानी का उर्स हम 11वीं शरीफ 3 दिन के अंदर इंशाल्लाह सेलिब्रेट करेंगे। सब रिमोट होगा, सब वर्चुअल होगा, क्योंकि सबसे पहली तालीम इन हजरात की और हुजूर सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की ये थी कि हर इंसान का जो भी काम करो, हर एक की भलाई का सोचो। तो हमें जज्बाती होकर नहीं सोचना, हमें हर चीज़ में दूसरे की भलाई सोचनी है। अपने मास्क और अपने प्रोटेक्टिव गियर्स ऑन रखें। अपनी थैंक्स गिविंग की सेलिब्रेशंस में जब आप इन सूफिया कराम का उर्स मनाते हैं तो हर चीज़ में आपको इन हमारे बुजुर्गान दीन की तालीमात को मद्देनज़र रखना पड़ेगा। जब हम अपने बुजुर्गान दीन, अपने रसूलों, अल्लाह के फरमान की पैरवी करेंगे, कुरान पाक पे चलेंगे, तो फिर हमारा हर अमल इस्लामी होगा। हम अपने मजहब की किसी भी चीज को, अपनी दिन के किसी भी लम्हे को इस्लाम से अलग नहीं कर सकते। हमें ये जानना पड़ेगा और समझना पड़ेगा कि हर चीज इस्लाम के दायरे में आती है, या तो वो इस्लामी है या गैर इस्लामी है, या तो वो अल्लाह वाली चीज है या वो गैर अल्लाह की चीज है। तो हमें हर चीज को अल्लाह वाली बनाना है, अपनी नीयत सही करके, अपने अमल को सही करके और इस्लाम के दायरा कार में चलते हुए। अब टाइम बहुत शॉर्ट है, the time is short, but I do want to answer a couple questions on dream interpretation. A few dreams have been posed. I might be able to only address one, but I do want to say that the dream interpretation, the knowledge of dream interpretation was given to Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, or Prophet Joseph, as the Christians call him. And Joseph was given this knowledge, and the reason Joseph was given this knowledge is because Joseph said that I follow the ways of Abraham, my forefathers, my fathers, and I follow the path of God, and I do not go near the path of the devil. So that is why he was given this beautiful knowledge of dream interpretation. And again, when we follow our buzurgs, when we follow our aslaf, when we follow our leaders and we follow our prophets, then we can have a lot of these knowledge ourselves. I was asked how to acquire the knowledge of dream interpretation. I had asked everybody to start reading the Quran daily with translation, even if it's one ruku, one page, or 2 pages. Just start that. Inshallah, you will start to interpret dreams. The break time, the time is short for the show to end, but let me go to some of the dreams that I was asked and try and see if I can interpret them. A lady wrote to me that she saw that she is pregnant and very fat in a dream. And she saw that she was pregnant, and she is saying that I am not of the age where I should be pregnant. So what does my dream mean? So I want to answer you by letting you know that, mashallah, you've seen a good dream. Pregnancy and being fat in a dream, or obese or overweight in a dream, means money. So inshallah, you will receive money, and that is the meaning of that dream. You have not told me what time you saw the dream or what time you wake up, so I cannot give you the exact time period for that, but that does mean money and prestige for you. Then I have received, let me check the second dream that I have received. Actually, it's kind of similar. I have been asked, somebody said that they saw a black cow chasing them in a dream. So a black cow chasing you in a dream is also denoting wealth and prosperity for the person seeing it. So whoever saw it, I'm sorry I'm a little late in replying to this, and I have some other questions that I will inshallah try to answer in my next show, because the time is now just a minute or 2 left. So please, if you've seen a black cow or a cow, any colored cow chasing you in a dream, that also means prosperity and wealth, and that wealth will chase you. It is getting time to be near the end. So again, let's all read the Quran daily with translation. Let's also always purify our intent like our prophets and our walis and our sahabas did, and the prophet's companions. Let's purify our intent and make every act that we do holy and godly by only bringing Allah and La ilaha illallah into our lives daily on a 24/7 basis. Again, please do not go crazy over Thanksgiving. Wear your mask, have a social distancing in your gatherings. Please interact so you are safe and others are safe. And please do not forget to send your zakat, sadaqah, and charitable donations to Salahuddin Education Services. We have just joined more schools and sponsored more schools in Pakistan, in Karachi, in the Northwest, in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, in Punjab. We are constantly joining more schools. I hope you will send your donations and help us with this good cause. It is done voluntarily. It's all fi sabilillah. And in the US too, alhamdulillah, we are doing a lot of fi sabilillah work. And I will see you in good health, inshallah, next week. Stay tuned for the show. It will repeat tonight at 12 o'clock. It will repeat tomorrow, Wednesday at 12 noon. And it will repeat Saturday at 12 noon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.